This video is focused on simple document review and specifically setting up the environment as an administrator for simple document review. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the opening premise of the video, and then we're going to explore our various options. The opening premise is pretty straightforward and simple. We have a huge amount of documents to review. We have a diverse user group with minimal skills and no real time for training. I think this is actually not an uncommon scenario. You may be in the forensics industry, you may be in the legal industry, you could be in any number of different applications, and this is probably a reasonably frequent occurrence. So what do we do? What can we do in Quincy? Well, we have three real options. We can permission the environment to a very restricted subset of its functionality, so that it's so simple there's basically no sharp objects, there's no way for them to get in trouble, and they can navigate the environment and achieve a reasonable result. That's one option, and we'll show that. We can show how we can use tasking specifically to exactly refine the documents we want different users to look at, and to again deliver a pretty brainless, a straight linear review environment that they can go and utilize to achieve whatever the goals are. And then finally, we're going to show you the last option, which is by far the most flexible and one I'd love you guys to explore, and one, for what it's worth, that has its own videos, which is creating custom views and panels to deliver very customized and specific UI experiences to achieve an optimal user result. So anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to try to keep this simple. Each one of these topics has several videos dedicated to it. And so if you really want to get deep, I'd encourage you to review those as well. But this, I think, is hopefully a good overview. So we're going to hop right into the tool. We are logged in as an administrator, and as we've pointed out many times with Quincy, the administrator desktop view, which is this, is totally overwhelming. There is just way too much functionality here to give anybody access to if they are anything other than the most highly trained user or most technical, or somebody who's really interested in poking around and learning a lot. Most people, though, are not interested in that kind of thing and want an environment tailored to their specific needs. So let's start with our first example. Our first idea was, well, can we just give them a subset of this such that there's just not enough for them to get in trouble, but there's enough for them to get their job done? And of course, the answer to that is wholeheartedly yes. Let's show you how you do that. We go into the admin view. We go into roles. And we create a role that only allows them to have access to what we want. And so we're going to do that with our doc reviewer role here. And specifically, the widgets are where the game is. We're going to give them access to the grid, the filter, the viewer, and tagging. In fact, actually, let's not even give them access to tagging. I'll save that for the final panel view option. You could give them the access to tagging. Again, I encourage you to watch the video on tagging and decide whether it's appropriate, but it's certainly going to be simpler without it. So, and that's what we're going for here, so that's what we're going to do. Go ahead and save that. Our simple doc reviewer user has already been assigned that view. We can come over here, doc reviewer. You can see he's already got the doc reviewer role that we just assigned. So now I'm going to log out and log in as him. And I'm going to pause the video while I do that so you don't have to wait through the login process, and we'll see what kind of environment we've just given him. Okay, we've logged in as our doc reviewer, and hopefully it immediately jumps out at you that, wow, this is a much simpler interface. They only have 3 widgets, really not a heck of a lot of way to get in trouble. They have a few filters, a search bar here, but things that could be easily understood with a little time of training. So let's go in and log into a case and see what their experience might look like. open up the grid, and let's open up the viewer because I think that's probably the most likely combination they'll have up. Let's pick a document. Any document wouldn't matter. And boom, this is the review experience, and they can go ahead and label stuff if they want and apply that label. They can add new labels, whatever we gave them permission to do, they can go ahead and do. So this is option 1. We achieved this just by restricting the permissioning that the user had access to, or excuse me, restricting the functionality that the user had access to through permissioning. So I'm going to log back out, log in again as the administrator, and we're going to explore option number 2, which is tasking. Option number 2 seeks to solve sort of a second level of problem here. While we may have just given all our users access to a very simple environment, they all have access to effectively the same data. And as a function of having access to the same data, they might duplicate review efforts. So option 2 is going to seek to both give them a simple review environment, but also solve that second problem. Okay, we've logged back in as the administrator, and now we're exploring, like I said, our second option, the tasking approach. So let's go ahead and log into our case and open up our tasking widget. Now, again, there's a video dedicated to tasking, so I'd encourage you to go ahead and watch that. But we're just going to create a new task here, and we'll call it review doc. And it's the demo case and created, and we can assign all these different things. We can assign a due date to it. We can assign a priority to it. We can monitor progress. Let's go ahead, and the main thing we want to do is make sure we give it to the right user. So we're going to do to the doc reviewer here. And let's go ahead and save that. So now we have the task we want. All right, now the next step here is to add objects to our task. And let's go ahead and open our notes panel. Make sure we've got the correct task selected. Let's edit this. Go to the objects, and now let's select the objects we want to add to it. We're going to do just docs. And of course, we could do any criteria at all. We could do docs, we could do pictures, we could do based on some keyword search, whatever. Go ahead and select these documents and go ahead and add these objects to this task. And let's save. Okay, now we're off to the races. Now this guy has got a task. It's got objects attached to it. Now let's just go do a little tweaking to our environment to make it more specific to this task-based workflow. So we're going to come into the administrator again. We're going to go into our doc reviewer role, and we are going to remove the filter. He won't need that. He won't need the grid. What replaces his grid at this point is the tasking. And we'll save that. And it's saved. Perfect. We're really happy. And we're going to log out and log back in. And again, I'm pausing the video during that step to spare you guys. Okay, we've logged back in now, again, as our doc reviewer. And we'll see it's slightly different, but still extremely simple. We've got our tasking widget and our reviewer. And let's go ahead and select this task and open the notes panel. And the notes panel, we don't really need any other panel even open. And now we've got our certain files that we've been tasked with, and we can go ahead and review them. Just click on them and say, interesting, and we want to save that comment. And then we maybe go to the next document and say boring and save that comment, and so on and so forth. We can even use the backwards and forwards if we want to do stuff. And last comment. Pretty straightforward. You guys get the idea. I don't even really feel like I need to sort of do much more here. It's just straightforward task document review based off the documents that we've tasked out to the user. So this solves the second problem, which was, again, the problem of making sure our users don't overlap with each other and review similar documents. However, there is still one problem that I feel like is unsolved by either of these two approaches, and that is the fundamental complexity, if you will, of the widgets themselves. Now, you may say this is nothing, clicking into these things is simple, and this top bar is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory, but still, there is a level of simplicity that we can achieve beyond what we have here. And so we're going to do that through the panels. And I'm going to log out and log back in, and through the panels we're going to build actually a slightly more complex view, but more specifically purpose-built towards review, or in this case it's going to be towards legal review. So let's log back in, log in as administrator, and we'll get to work on that. Okay, we've logged back in as administrator. Now we're going to try to build our custom UI for document review. The goal here is to add a little bit more complexity actually to the UI, but make it a little bit more custom fit to our specific needs. So we're going to do this through the panels widget. Now the panels widget is extremely complex, and I'm not going to cover it adequately at all in this demo. Instead, I just want to give you a flavor for what it can do, and you guys spend some time playing around with it. Also, there's a video dedicated to it, so you can get a lot more information there. But let's go ahead and build a custom view here. We're going to split it horizontally. We're going to split this one vertically. In here, we're going to put the viewer. In here, we're going to put the tagging panel, and in here we're going to put the grid. And let's make our viewer side a little bit bigger. Keep not grabbing it. There we go. And let's make everything resizable. Again, go ahead and view the video on this if you want to understand a little bit more what I'm doing here. We are going to make it full page. Excuse me, no, we don't want to make it full page. We do want to include cases. And let's go ahead and call this legal demo. And we're just going to go ahead and save that. Okay, now we've created a custom view that our users can use, but we still need to assign it to them. So we're going to go into the admin panel, into roles. We're coming down here to our familiar user. Edit here, and we're just going to come here and remove the desktop view as the default view and give him the legal demo view. And I've called it legal. It doesn't really need to be legal. You'll see you can use it for anything. Also, previously we've been focusing primarily on what widgets we gave this person. At this point, we don't really even care. The functionality has been embedded into this view. So the widgets are largely irrelevant at this point. You can give them all of them, you can give them none of them. It won't matter. So let's go ahead and save that. And now we're going to log back out and log in one last time and see the environment we've just created. Okay, we've logged into our custom environment, and you should see it's obviously immediately clear that this is entirely different. This is custom built to the use case we want. We've got our cases over here on the left, and let's go ahead and open a case to give this some depth in terms of the view. We've got our panels over here in the top right, and we've got our grid here in the bottom right. And of course, we could have positioned stuff wherever we wanted it, however we wanted it. We can go ahead and log into the panel, to the coding panel we've created. Now again, the coding panel is going to be specific to what you create, and there's a video on that, so go ahead and view that. But you've got a really simple environment here that I think with a little training could get your users really, really far in terms of document review. And you can combine all these topics. You could have tasking down here with the documents they need to see. There are other ways to do review groups. There are videos on that, so you can look if you want to understand those better. But anyway, that's it. Those are the 3 different ways I wanted to cover in this video anyway of delivering a workflow specific UI that is simple and hopefully powerful enough to enable relatively straightforward document review. I hope that's helpful and it's gotten you along. And please, if you have any questions, don't feel free to post, and we'll get them back to you. And if you have any more ideas for videos, again, post those as well. Thank you very much.